Hey guys, Holly here. Welcome back to my channel. And this evening we're going to be talking about how to function on very little sleep or even no sleep. We're going to talk about it because I have a lot of really good tips on this matter, as I've been an insomniac pretty much my whole entire life. And so I really got to thinking, why not share some of my advice with other people that could use it, because I know I'm not the only insomniac out there. And sleep deprivation is not always a result of insomnia. It can be a result of so many different things. Having too much to do, being a parent, having a sick child, taking care of a family member, so many different things. So let's hop right into it. So ultimately, I do want to point out there's no one size fits all approach to this matter. Like, it's always going to be a different situation for each person, and there are always going to be different ways to go about it. So for me personally, I have dealt with a lot of sleep deprivation, and particularly when I was in my early 20s, I dealt with the very worst type of insomnia that I've had in my life. And even approaching into my mid 20s, and really just over the last couple of years, it has started to get better with the insomnia a little bit. But I do still have many nights where I only sleep about 4 hours, or maybe 4.5. I do still have a lot of those nights. I do try really hard to get 6 or 7 hours, but it just isn't always realistic for me. I never sleep more than 7 to 7.5 hours, and if I do, it's usually pretty rare, maybe once every week or two. But yeah, so I personally am not the type of person that requires a whole lot of sleep, and part of this is due to biohacking, which I will definitely do a video on biohacking in the future, and we will talk about that, and we will talk about biohacking your sleep, etc. It's all very interesting, and it has improved my life so much and given me so much freedom. But aside from that, I want to get into some of the tips that I use when I'm sleep deprived. So first and foremost, honestly, the number one thing is going to be what you're eating and drinking. So you want to stay really hydrated. Sleep deprivation can lead to some pretty bad headaches, muscle tension. It can lead to anxiety. It can lead to depression in some cases. However, some studies have shown that sleep deprivation on a short-term basis can actually improve depression. It's very interesting, the studies that have been done on sleep deprivation and depression. But anyways, so what you're eating and drinking is going to be the most important thing from my standpoint and from what I've experienced. So eating a really healthy diet, and that looks different for everyone. It depends on what kind of diet you follow, whether you're vegetarian, vegan, it doesn't really matter. Just following a good, healthy diet, making sure you're getting balanced meals, making sure that you're getting snacks and eating frequently. Because the thing is, when you're sleep deprived, your body is trying to make up for that deficit of energy by making you hungrier and making you want to eat more. And this is one reason why a lot of people who don't sleep a lot, the studies show that some of these people tend to be more overweight and even obese. And the reason for that is, in my opinion, I think the main reason is because it does make you hungrier, and it can make you have more cravings. And when you're tired, you're not going to feel like putting as much energy into what you're putting into your body, your meals, etc. So just being mindful of what you're eating and drinking really healthy stuff, okay, like smoothies, anything you can get your hands on, cacao powder, anything that you consider healthy that's going to make you feel good. Drinking lots and lots of filtered water. Hydration is so important. Replenishing your minerals, your electrolytes, using like some alkaline water solution. I like to do pink Himalayan sea salt or regular sea salt, rock salt, whatever, and even putting a dash of that into your water, maybe even with a little baking soda, but making sure you're getting really good hydration and your minerals back into your system. Eating, not necessarily constantly, but very frequent small meals. So this is going to help you keep your energy levels consistent, but just, like I said, make sure it's healthy. Don't stuff yourself, don't go overboard, just eat what you feel like you need, and then just stop. So aside from eating and drinking, the next thing is going to be supplementation. Okay, so with the supplementation, I always recommend that people, at the bare minimum, at least take a multivitamin every day with vitamin D. Make sure it has vitamin D, a probiotic supplement, and also I recommend that people take something else like for a specific problem that they're having. So add that into your regimen as well. So like me, for example, I have an underactive thyroid, so I take kelp and I take bladderwrack, which is an herb. And so things like herbal teas can really help as well, and just really getting as many nutrients into the body as you can. Herbs, and you know, with anything, don't go overboard. Just know what your body can handle, know what your body likes and doesn't like, if that makes sense. So with your supplementation, you know, your food, hydration, supplementation. So then the next thing is going to be, in my opinion, is going to be like little different techniques that you can use throughout the day. So staying busy really helps. Moving your body, just keeping yourself moving, no matter how tired you are and how much you don't want to exercise or move around, it's actually going to help you. It's going to produce more energy in the body so that you can better move. So let's say, for example, you have a desk job or you're sitting down for a good part of the day and maybe you're starting to nod off and feel really sleepy. The best thing that you can do at that point is get up and start moving your body around. And it's going to give you so much of an energy boost, and you'll be able to kind of help power through that. You want to be really careful about caffeine consumption, and if you're sleep deprived, chances are you're going to reach for the caffeine if you're anything like me. And I feel like this is really helpful. I have always been a caffeine addict pretty much my whole life, especially once I hit my teenage years and started drinking coffee every day. So just continue to try to limit yourself to the same amount of caffeine that you would consume on a regular basis. If you're going to up it because maybe you had a really rough night or whatever and you're just really, really exhausted, try to only up it by maybe like one extra dose, if that makes sense. So like one extra cup of coffee or something of that nature. And you also want to keep your caffeine source clean. So basically what I mean by that is not consuming artificial energy drinks that are going to have all these different things in them. There are a lot of dangers with combining various stimulants all together. You really want to reach for something like either pure green tea or some yerba mate, or just some plain coffee without artificial sweetener. Just plain black coffee, or coffee that's going to have, you know, a natural cream or a little bit of milk or something like that, natural sweetener. None of that unnatural artificial sweetener crap that's so bad for you. So you just don't want to consume like Monsters, Venoms. I don't want to name a whole bunch of names because I really try not to like bash people's products. But most of the mainstream energy drinks on the market, Red Bull, etc., they're not good for you at all. And when you're combining these stimulants, like you're getting like taurine, guarana, you're combining it with caffeine, ginseng, it's really, really not good for you. And you know, studies have shown so many people have actually had heart attacks as a result of too much of this. People have, you know, some people have underlying heart conditions or underlying medical conditions that they're unaware of and they just don't know, and they might consume something like that and something really bad might happen to them. I personally have had a lot of really bad experiences with energy drinks in general, and I don't recommend them. And if you're going to have to go with an energy drink, I recommend just going with something that's going to be organic, which you can find in most grocery stores these days. You can find a more natural alternative of an energy drink. It might not be the most popular option, but just using common sense, you know, and even things like vitamin water can help give you more energy and things like that. So anyways, so when we're talking about some more techniques that you can use, this one I learned very early on is really interesting. But if you turn on some cold water and run your wrist, the inside of your wrist, underneath the cold water, it helps to stimulate some energy as well. So what you can also do is take like some cold packs and you can put them like on the back of your neck, your forehead, the sides of your neck. Obviously, if you're in public, this is going to look kind of weird, but it really, really does help stimulate some extra energy temporarily. It is a temporary fix, and I have actually in the past, I know it sounds crazy, but I've actually taken ice cubes and put them down my shirt into my bra, like in the front and in the back, and that has helped me as well. So you can look up so many different methods that you can use and so many different things that you can do to help keep you going throughout the day. And there's another exercise I like to implement, and I don't remember what it's called, but it's a tapping exercise. I've talked a little bit about tapping before in some of my videos, which I really need to do a video solely on tapping, and I will. But there's this particular exercise that I like to do that I learned many years ago, and it's where you thump your thymus gland. So your thymus gland is like right here, and it's just a gland, part of your endocrine system. So you just tap it like this over and over. You're supposed to do it for at least 20 seconds, but 60 seconds is recommended. So this is really good to give you energy and also calm anxiety and things of that nature. So another thing that you want to consider is if you're really, really sleep deprived, chances are you're going to be a lot more prone to anxiety. And your emotions might not be stable. You might feel, off in the ozone. Like anything that you're feeling when you're really sleep deprived, it's normal. There are so many different things that you can feel. Don't feel bad about it. If you start feeling depressed, if you start feeling stressed out, in some cases, people can even have out-of-body experiences. They can have all kinds of things happen. And I have had so many different things happen. I've gotten to the point before where I've started seeing like things out of the corners of my eyes. Not anything like straight on, but you can have sleep deprivation related hallucinations, and that is in very extreme cases. So, like I say, my worst sleep deprivation years were my early to mid 20s. I believe it started when I was about 19 years old. It started getting really bad. And like I say, just the last couple of years, it has gotten a little bit better. But there are still many nights, most nights, I would say I don't get enough sleep at all. But then again, you also kind of have to look at yourself and just evaluate the situation and just, ask yourself, am I doing the best that I can? And if I am, then that's okay. And I'm just going to have to do the best that I can to get as much sleep as I'm able and just let the rest go, just do the best that you can, and that's all that you can do. And so I always point that out to people, and I've had so many people ask me, how do you function without sleeping? And the number one answer that I can give to people that ask me that question is that I simply don't have a choice. So, yeah, I could choose to lay around all day, but then again, I really can't, because I have children and because I have work and I have obligations and I have all of these things that I have to do. And so, yes, there are many days in which I'm afraid I'm not going to make it through the day, or I'm like, oh, I'm not going to make it through the day. Don't get me wrong. There have been so many of those days, but I will tell you that after all of those days I've had in my life, which has been so many, that I have made it through every single one of them without fail. And I've done everything I needed to do during those days. So if it's anything to you, if you take anything from me from this video, just know that you can make it through no matter how tired you feel. Your body is capable of so much, and I'm not suggesting that you go and continually push your limits day in and day out, but I think doing the best that you can to take care of your body. And I think in our society, especially, people put a lot of emphasis on sleep, and they put a lot of emphasis on saying, oh, you need rest, you need sleep, you need this, and yes, your body does need rest, your body does need sleep, and that's also the way the brain detoxes and cleans itself out. So yes, it is a big thing, but there's always going to be an area of your life, if not multiple at one time, that is going to be a bit of a struggle, and it's just really hard to find a balance with every single thing. So the main point I want to get at when it comes to dealing with sleep deprivation is that taking care of your body in every other way that you possibly can, not just your body, but your mind, because it can and will affect you mentally and emotionally as well. You might cry out of nowhere and not really know what happened. You might take things more personally. You might feel really judgmental. You might feel like someone else is judging you. There are so many different things. So you really want to just do everything you can to take care of your body and your mind. Little relaxation techniques, and also a huge thing is catnapping. Anytime you have a moment, even if you just have 5 minutes, even if you have 2 minutes, you know, if you can get into your car, if you can sit at your desk, if you can even just close your eyes for 2-3 minutes, you know, I always recommend going for 10 if you can, at least 10. And some days I might do 15 or 20, and if I get a really lucky day, I might be able to lay down for about 30 or 40 minutes. But I usually won't fall asleep completely, or I may be in like a half asleep type of state. But even just 10 minutes can really make a huge difference. So I do want to point that out, that that's definitely one of my main techniques that I use. And a really cool thing that you can do as well, that a lot of people don't know about this particular technique, is have yourself like an 8-ounce cup of black coffee, or you can add a little sweetener if you want to. But if you chug that and then you go and you take yourself like a 15-20 minute cat nap, as soon as you get up, that caffeine's going to kick in and it's going to be like bam, and you're good for like 4 hours. So, and that does vary a little bit from person to person, but it is a really cool technique that I use when I need to. And yeah, so I'm not going to talk a whole lot about insomnia in this video because I've done a video specifically on insomnia, but I did want to take a minute to talk about sleep deprivation and how you can deal with just getting through your everyday life. And if you can cut corners on anything during days that you're exhausted like that, you know, that's great if you're able to. You know, maybe you want to do something like order some food out, you know, for delivery, or, you know, get something through a drive-through, make sure it's healthy. Maybe something like that to keep you from having to cook dinner. There are so many different little tweaks that you can add in. So I remember the first night I had in my early 20s when I literally did not sleep a wink the entire night. And I was working full time at the time. I had to go into work. I also had a manual labor job as a massage therapist, which I still am today. And I thought to myself, there is no way that I'm going to make it through this day. How am I going to make it through this day? So I remember stopping at a gas station on my way to work. I went in and I grabbed like one regular energy drink and like 2 other like canned coffees or something like that. And so I ended up drinking those that day. All of them when I was at work, which was a really bad idea, but I wasn't really thinking straight. So come the end of the day, I went home and I was like, wow, like I actually made it through this day. And so for me, that was almost kind of like the beginning of realizing what I was capable of. And, you know, I also have a theory that if you really, really need to rest, that your body will allow you that rest. So meditation is a big deal. If you can't rest, meditate, because meditation can be just as restorative, if not more, than actual physical sleep. From a religious, spiritual standpoint as well, praying, mantras, things of that nature can also really help you. Another thing I really like to do is calling upon my violet flame. So the violet flame is like, basically you call it in for like physical healing. Like it's a really cool thing. You'll have to look it up, violet flame. So I call upon the violet flame, then I like envision the violet flame and all that, you know, and I do this every day anyways. And then I also like to call in Archangel Raphael for physical healing, because Archangel Raphael, that's what he is. Like, he's the angel of physical healing. And so that helps me as well. So I kind of think about that periodically throughout the day, meditate upon those things. And there are other things you can call into, like your Merkaba and sacred fire. These are all things you can look up and do research. And there are just so many things. It's really not limited to what I have pointed out in this video. The list really goes on and on and on. And what you will notice, some of you may have dealt with a lot of sleep deprivation in your life, some of you maybe not so much. But one thing you might come to notice is that the physical feelings of the exhaustion will kind of come and go throughout the day. So like, you might have a point where you're feeling totally fine, and then 10 minutes later you might crash and be feeling like total crap, and then 20 minutes later you might feel like you're gonna fall asleep, and then 30 minutes later you might feel completely fine again. So it does kind of come and go in waves. And so there are different levels of sleep deprivation. There are levels in which maybe you're just a wee bit sleep deprived. Like, let's say you're a person that sleeps 7 to 8 hours a night and maybe you only got 6. And so that would be like a really, really minimal level of sleep deprivation. Then you kind of have like on a medium area, someone that sleeps 7 to 8 hours a night and say they only got like 5. A lot of people can hardly function on 5 hours of sleep. More people than not, from what I've seen. If they get 5 hours, they'll be like, oh man, I only got 5 hours of sleep, I just can't. And everyone's different, and that's okay. And I don't judge people just because, you know, I'm the type of person that can function. You know, because just because you can function on a small amount of sleep doesn't make you better than anyone else. It's just something that your body is capable of doing, and everybody's different. So anyways, let's see what else I can point out. We have more intense levels of sleep deprivation where, you know, sleeping 2 or 3 hours or less than that, or maybe not at all. Some people, I actually have a friend that used to go 3 to 4 days without sleeping a wink, and she finally started having to take Ambien, and she's been on Ambien for years now at this point, I do believe. But there are so many different levels of this, and it can definitely vary. I know for me it varies a whole lot. You know, some nights I'll sleep okay, some nights I'll sleep great, which aren't very often, and then some nights I'll just sleep horrible. And last night in particular was a not very good night for me. And my youngest son, he is 2, and he does not sleep as much as a regular 2-year-old. His average sleep time is about 7 to 9 hours a night. He does take a nap every day, but the nap is right where it should be, and it's just the way that he is. At night he doesn't sleep a whole lot. And when he was a little bit younger, you know, he was sleeping a little bit longer. Like at first he was doing about 12 hours a night, then it was like 10 or 11, but yeah, now it's down to 7 to 9, and every night's a little bit different. So the average night is about 8, I'd say. But it's hard for me because it's like once he goes to bed, it's like I have all, you know, a bunch of other stuff that I need to do and things that I need to get done. So by the time I take a bath and I finally get in bed a few hours later, and then I have insomnia after that most nights, you know, so it's kind of like, it's really hard on me because, you know, he just doesn't sleep as much as most kids his age, clearly. So it's going to be a different situation for everyone, guys, but I hope some of these tips can help you. You can also add in things like essential oils, anything that you feel like is going to help you, just do it. Getting outside, sunlight, even if it's cloudy, fresh air, it can all be very recharging. So think about that as well if you're on your lunch break or whatever. So just doing the best you can. And, you know, if it gets so bad that you literally can't go on, you know, then just be like, okay, I'm gonna lay down, or I'm gonna find a way to go and rest, you know. So don't feel like you have to, you know, be a certain way if you are struggling with sleep deprivation. So for a lot of people this doesn't happen very often, but you know, if you're a new parent, if you have a newborn, if you have a baby, yeah, it can get pretty intense. And I specifically remember with both my children, when I had each one of them, I was extremely sleep deprived, but only for the first few days until we got home and got in a routine. And then they both, fortunately, they both slept pretty well, especially my first one. But yeah, I do remember specifically going into labor with my first child, and I was in labor for literally 24 hours before I was admitted into the hospital, and then another 12 after that, after I'd had an epidural, but there was so much adrenaline that I could not sleep. So I just rested and I just did the best I could. And then after I had him, I didn't sleep at all that night, I don't think. And I think the next night I slept like 4 hours, and then I didn't sleep again the following night. And yeah, it's really intense. And especially, you know, if you've just had a child, your body is like so exhausted from everything it has been through with pregnancy, labor, delivery. So, and obviously it's not just going to be that situation. It can be, you know, like I said before, you might have a family member to care for that's disabled or elderly or injured. or it might be something going on in yourself. Sometimes with severe anxiety and even depression, you can have really bad sleep issues. I know for me, if I get super depressed, I can't sleep. I have really bad insomnia with that as well. So whatever the case is, you can definitely do your research and find out different ways that you can help promote yourself to kind of in the healthiest fashion possible to get through your day. So the last thing I'll mention that I just thought of too is looking up things like binaural beats on YouTube or what have you, looking up different frequencies that you can use to give yourself clean energy. So in doing this, I would just go to YouTube or whatever, and I would just type in frequency for energy or frequency for sleep deprivation. So kind of just something that can up your mood and give you a better feeling. So I've even, I've done stuff like reading my Bible in times like this, and I've had so many times it's gotten really, really bad to the point of just being completely like dysfunctional. So if you're experiencing this, I'm right there with you. I understand. And from my personal experience, I have not met a lot of people in my life that have been able to deal with quite a bit of sleep deprivation. And so if ever I do find someone like that, I'm like, wow, hello, we've got to be friends, because it's just not something that's super common. So but yeah, I'm here for you guys. If you have any more questions, make sure to reach out to me on my social media outlets, and we can keep in touch that way. I do still have my YouTube comment section turned off, and I do intend to keep it that way. So I do hope some of these tips can help you. Particular essential oils that you can use to help promote energy would be lemongrass, particularly spearmint, and anything minty, so like wintergreen or what's the other one I'm thinking of? See, I'm sleep deprived too. So yeah, wintergreen, spearmint, peppermint, that's the one. So all of those are going to help you as well with your energy levels and upping that energy level a little bit as well. So anyways, yeah, I hope this video helps. I will definitely be sure to let you guys know of some more tips when I think of them, because I've literally used dozens, if not hundreds, of different tips to help me through so many of these days that I've had in my life. So I hope that this can help. So I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks.